All right, so Ray, my wife blew up one of our dealership's cars. Now this happened a long time ago, and I'm going to tell the story real quickly, and then she's here in the room with us, and she's going to give her side of it. But we went to an auction. This was very early in our business, and me and my wife, we were doing everything. So I was going to auction, buying cars. I was fixing them. I was cleaning them up. I was getting them inspected. I was doing drive cycles. I was doing sales. I was doing the paperwork. I did everything because it was just me and her. So she had a real people's job at the time. So the only way that I could actually transport our cars was by having a driver. Problem is, we couldn't afford to pay for a driver because we were trying to be as cheap as possible.
Makes sense.
And so I needed my wife to help drive cars after she got off. So every night after we went to this auction, she would get off at 5, and we would go to the auction at 7:30, 8 o'clock sometimes, and be driving cars until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So there was this one Jeep that I bought at auction, and it seemed like it was a good car. I checked it out as well as I could at that time. And then on the way home, she was driving this Jeep. She called me, and she said, "Brandon, it's starting to go over the middle as far as the temperature gauge goes." And me, with my infinite knowledge, said, "You know what, baby? It's probably just a thermostat. Let's keep going. Let's get it to the lot." Whatever. And turns out that it kept going up and kept going up. So she continued to drive it under the infinite wisdom of her husband. And pretty soon it would not move anymore. And I believe it started smoking. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Started smoking. We pulled it over into a gas station, and that's where it died. But ultimately, it was her fault because she shouldn't have overheated it. I think it was the way she was driving.
Oh, it was her fault. Wow. Mm-hmm. And you're still married to this man?
He's done so much worse than that. So, really, I'd already survived so much at this point. And here's the thing. After he realized that it was entirely his fault for giving completely incorrect information.
Yes.
I felt like I should stay with someone who can admit that. I really appreciated it. And he doesn't do it as often as I would like, but this story is definitely a favorite. So I was free labor. Dan pointed out that was pretty shady as well. They're using the free labor. But the thing is, when you own a business, you're not making any money anyway. So technically, Brandon was free labor too. He was paying to have that job for a lot of years before he could actually make money. So anyway, on my free labor transport assistance, I happen to know that temperature gauge, you don't want to play with that. Engine overheating is a bad thing, which is what I told him, and apparently he didn't know. So anyway,
he sells cars for a living?
Yeah, well, not enough to get money out of it, overall. It takes time to build a business, right? We didn't start with any kind of floor plan.
We did not take a paycheck for the first 5 years.
I think it might have been 4.
Yeah, 4 years. 4 years. We didn't take any money out of the business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's because she had a real job, though.
No, I get it. Yeah. She put in a real person's job. Yeah.
Yeah, real person's job.
Yeah. So any penny that came in from the business went right back into the business. And that also meant that when you lost money on a car,
that came right out of the business,
directly out of our pocket, which was the business as well. So anyway, that was a pretty fun day, and we still talk about it years later. So it makes me feel like, maybe I can actually add something to this business, but it also make him watch a lot of YouTube videos to learn a little bit more about cars and maybe that knowledge that he had at the time, which is not enough.
Yeah, I'll tell you something interesting. So I knew I wanted to get into cars and sell them. But when I first started, I did not even know how to check the oil on a car.
Interesting. Okay.
I could do that. I mean,
I want to, if I may, I'd like to pay Brandon one compliment. And that compliment would be, it takes a special man to admit an error, and you gave bad advice, The fact that you're still trying to push it off on your wife was her fault, even though we all know it wasn't. It takes a special person to admit that, and so I admire you for being able to do that.
All right. Well, I feel like I'm getting too much credit in this conversation, so maybe we should switch topics here. Let's see here.
Real quick though, you also have an excellent tan today.
I do have an excellent tan today, and it's because I don't have the right lighting set up, and I don't know how to fix it. So
yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
later.
we'll figure it out later.
We'll set this up today.
I think it's not my lack of a tan. I think it's just the contrast between me and Ray, and it's just that he's so white and I'm beautifully golden.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was thinking to myself, I need to get under a sun lamp and get some more color, because I look pale as can be in comparison to you. Yeah.
All right. And it looks like I'm under a sun lamp.
Can I say one thing that I really must say? I noticed in one of the comments on the channel, somebody said, well, why don't you call Brandon handsome? So I just want to take a moment and say, Brandon, how you doing today, handsome?
No, so we had another comment that was funny that I responded to on this car sense. Leave us comments. Leave us tons of comments. We like to read them, and we'll reply to the funny ones. But the comment was, can you guys please use some face filters? And I said, I'm sorry that we do not look good enough for your viewing pleasure.
Well, I was told many, many years ago, and apparently this might hold true for you as well, but I was reminded that I had the perfect face for radio.
Yeah, and I've heard that too.
Yes. And so there you have it. I mean, YouTube is, visual. We're sorry for that. But we're doing the best we can with what we have to work with. And you can look at the two of us and you can go, well, they don't have a lot to work with.
All right, Ray. So let's talk about one more topic.
I would like to know what you're seeing at the auctions. I know that the one auction you went to, they had the lowest level of cars available that you've seen in quite some time. Has that been the case at others?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing at auctions right now is I'm seeing that we're getting fewer trade-ins. So that means obviously that these new car dealers, they're not moving as many cars as they had been even 6 months ago. We're seeing that in the numbers already, but now it's really starting to hit my business as a used car dealer. And it seems like it almost goes like an accordion. Like it seems like maybe 1 week out of the month we'll go and we'll hit it real hard and we'll be able to buy tons and tons of cars. But the other 3 weeks, it's like there's almost nothing there for us. And I'm not really sure why this is going on. I know that the weakness from the market is just been the biggest continuous story that I've seen. And I'm seeing it really that even though we're getting fewer vehicles at these auctions, the prices really aren't going up. As far as the stuff that I'm buying, it seems like the prices are going down even a little bit. So this is very surprising. I think very telling for this market, at least for used car dealers, from what I'm observing, is that even though the inventory is getting weaker, that the level of demand coming from these used car dealers is not going up. So it's not causing the prices to go up. And that's a worry that I have for these used car dealers, is that, okay, even though prices should be going up at auctions, they're not. So that means they too, like these new car dealers, are having a hard time selling cars. And I wonder if it comes down to the banks. I know I'm hearing from a lot of these used car dealers that, they have interest in their cars, but when they go to get these customers approved for loans, that so many of them are getting denied. And I know that's the kind of the data that you guys are seeing over there too, when you're scraping through this data at Car Edge, that it's getting a lot harder for consumers to get into cars.
It is. And the other thought that came to my mind is maybe they just don't have any room left on their floor plan credit lines to be buying any more cars at the moment. Has there been like a really good week that you've seen this month to buy cars, or has it been a pretty poopy month all around when it comes to the auctions?
This month's been rough. Actually, last month was a lot better for us, and I thought it was going to be a trend that was going to get better. I had a conversation with Alex, my mechanic, who buys a lot of cars for me, and my my office manager. I was like, okay, I think the worst is past, and maybe some of these new car dealers are starting to be able to move some metal, and that's why we're seeing a few more cars at auction, and we're able to buy a lot more cars. We had a great August, and usually that's not the case because it's back to school. People usually aren't buying cars, so typically it's slow for us. But we had a great August because we were able to sell a lot of cars, because we were able to buy a lot of cars for good prices at auction. But I feel like maybe what actually happened was there was some holdover from the CDK outage. And that's why we saw more vehicles, because maybe some of these dealers were holding on to inventory because they couldn't catalog it yet. And that's why we saw this bump in August. But now all that pull forward in supply or whatever is now gone. And we're back to, okay, slow times. Now, typically what will happen is in October, we'll get another, there'll be another good month for dealers. I've never known exactly why. In October, it's been good, but for at least for used car dealers, I don't know. I can't speak for new dealers, but for used car dealers, October is usually a pretty good month. I don't know why, but it always has been. So so I'm hoping that this October is going to be similar to that, but I'm not really expecting good things, because I know these franchise dealers are having such a hard time, and because of that, these cars just aren't getting to me.
Well, and we do know that new car inventory levels are just under 3 million vehicles, which is, I don't know, close to 2 million vehicles more than it had been 2.5, 3 years ago. So as long as my suspicion is that this is not going to be a particularly strong new car month. That's just my supposition. And if that's the case, then yeah, you would definitely see it impacting you and what's going on at the auctions, because if new car dealers are having a tough time selling cars, that means they're just not taking trade-ins. And if they're not getting trades, they got nothing to take to the sale. Which is what they do with the older cars typically.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about amounts now. What I'm seeing. Let me talk to you about quality, because quality is even worse than the volume that we're seeing. So now it's my opinion that people are really only trading in their cars because they have to, because nobody's wanting to trade in their 2005 Toyota Camry for a brand new Toyota Camry and sign up for that $750 a month payment that's going to come along with it right now. And that's the average new car payment. So what we're seeing is that the quality is greatly going down, because on top of trade-ins where people only trade in because they have to and not because they want to upgrade to that car, but we're seeing more repos come through the system too. And that's coming to the auctions. Now, we'll buy repos every once in a while, but I will say for every 10 repos that we would actually look at to want to buy, like if it fits our kind of the criteria for the car that we want to buy, say like I gave that example, the 2005 Toyota Camry, there's only going to be maybe 1 out of 10 of every one of those repos that we will actually buy that we will deem good enough for us. And we sell cars that are $5,000 and under. So our quality standards aren't going to be tip top. But I'll say if it's a trade-in, it'd probably be higher to like 7 out of 10 that we would be able to buy that 2005 Camry. And that's how different the quality standards are on a repo versus a trade-in that we're seeing at auction.
And quality of vehicles at the auctions have been going down significantly over the past 3 years. The quality reports are not nearly as accurate as they probably should be. There is, and you know better than I do, but there is a lot of crap that is making it to the auctions these days. And you know, I'm sure for you, with what you're trying to buy, you have to be really, really careful about what it is that you find yourself bidding on.
Yeah, it is. And at the end of the day, I mean, we talk about this a lot. You make money on a car when you buy the car.
Yes.
So if I'm going to auction and it's a crappy car, and sometimes I buy crappy cars, then I'm going to be stuck with that car. And if I can't sell it to a consumer, if it's got a bad motor, a bad transmission, then I'll either have to fix it and then end up probably losing money on that car, or I'll have to dump it right back to auction if I do a cost analysis and figure out, okay, well, I can't put X amount of dollars in this car and still make money on it. Well, if I send it back to auction, I'm not a franchise dealer.
Yeah.
So when I send a car to auction, it's going to bring way less money than what I paid for it. So I'm going to end up losing money on either one of those cases. So we have to be so careful with the cars that we buy at auction. We go an hour and a half, 2 hours before every auction. We take our scanners, our code readers. We try to check the cars out as well as possible, but we're not going to hit everything. So at the end of the day, we're pretty good. We run about a 5% loss rate on the cars that we buy. But at the end of the day, I mean, there is some sense of gamble to the cars that we're buying. As good as we can be checking out these cars, there's still going to be some unknowns, some hidden things about all the cars that we see go through these auctions.
There's always a risk, whether a dealership's trading a young 2-year-old car or they're trading a 12-year, there's always risk. So there's no guarantees when you buy a car, a used car. And so bless you for being in the field that you're in, trying to do the best that you can in order to assure your customers that they're getting a decent enough vehicle that's safe enough for them to drive, and you've invested enough time, effort, and energy to make sure that it is for them.
Yeah, and I will say that what I have noticed over the last couple of years is that the amount of work that we're having to put in the cars, the amount of time that we're having to put in these cars to fix them and make sure they're ready to pass inspection, to be able to be sold to our consumer, so much more time. And it's, I mean, as you know, in business, any time that we have to put in these cars, that just means more money.
Oh, absolutely. And you're no different than anybody else. You want to turn the stuff as quickly as you possibly can. They're not going up in value. So,
yeah. All right, Ray. Well, I think we did good today. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Is there you want to hit any questions real quick? I'm at your mercy. What do you want to do?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I've had 2 bananas today, and I'm a tad bit hungry.
I thought that was going a different way. I know bananas have a lot of fiber, right?
No, I've had 2 bananas, and I'm hungry. Damn it! I need to plan better for these Tuesdays.
All right. Well, we will cut it right here. Thank all of you for joining the show. Please subscribe. This is a brand new channel. Me and Ray, this is our first full show that we've done. It would really help us out if you could subscribe to this. And Ray, thank you for doing this with me. This is going to be my most fun hour and a half, 2 hours of the week.
Well, I concur. I enjoy it. It's fun to have a somewhat freewheeling, unstructured type of conversation, and it reminds me of tales and stories that I can share. So I thoroughly enjoyed myself today.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. For my wife, for Ray, thank you for being on. And please subscribe, like, and you won't be able to comment on this because we're not posting it. So there you
go. That was fun.